Why are they calling my seatmate the Vampire King?
Because they know what I am.
You look identical in this 1898 photograph.
Because that man is me. My enemies may decide you matter to me now.
Do I? If I stay, no commands, no secrets.
And no deciding for me. Agreed. Knowing what I am, would you ever choose to see me again?
That choice is mine.
Before Olivia could decide whether there would be another conversation, she had to return to the beginning, hours before an airport bowed to the quiet stranger, when all she wanted was one peaceful flight home. At nearly midnight, Chicago O'Hare was full of delayed announcements, rolling suitcases, and travelers wearing the hollow expressions of people who had been awake too long. Olivia Brooks understood them. Her black restaurant uniform was folded inside the worn canvas backpack on her shoulder, and her feet still ached from the 14-hour banquet shift she had finished before racing to the airport. She had spent 3 months covering extra events and saving every tip she could. Someday she wanted to open a small breakfast counter in Seattle, a place with 6 stools, strong coffee, and food priced for people who counted every dollar. For now, rent was due Friday, her cracked phone had 9% battery, and all she wanted from Flight 271 was a few quiet hours before her next shift. Her assigned seat was 34C, an aisle seat she had selected so she could stretch her legs. The plan lasted less than 2 minutes. "Come on, I am completely fine," a middle-aged man announced as he stumbled toward row 34 with an airport cocktail in one hand. He dropped into 34B, bumped Olivia's arm hard enough to knock her phone to the floor, and laughed as if they already shared a joke. "Looks like we are neighbors," he said. Olivia retrieved her phone and gave him the brief, polite smile she used with difficult customers. "It looks that way." He talked through the final minutes of boarding. He told her about golf, a failed business deal, and a vacation she had not asked about. Each time she turned toward the window across the aisle, he leaned closer and found another question. "Long flight," he said. "We should keep each other entertained." His words were not a threat, but his refusal to notice her short answers tightened something in her chest. Olivia had spent all week being pleasant because her paycheck required it. She did not owe a stranger 12 more hours of access to her attention. "I am going to sleep," she said clearly. "Please give me some space." He raised both hands in exaggerated surrender, then started talking again before a minute had passed. Olivia pressed the call button. When a flight attendant arrived, she kept her voice low and steady. "If there is another seat available, I would like to move. I need rest, and I have already asked him for space." The attendant looked from Olivia to the man and nodded without asking her to defend the request. "Give me one moment." She returned with a tablet and a new boarding slip. The passenger in 8B had reserved the adjacent premium economy window seat for privacy, but he had just released it. Seat 8A. No extra charge. Olivia thanked her, collected her backpack and walked forward. When the curtain opened, she found a tall man in a charcoal coat sitting in 8B, the aisle seat beside hers. He had pale, composed features, dark hair brushed neatly away from his face, and silver-gray eyes that lifted from the night beyond the glass. A closed leather notebook rested beneath one hand. For one suspended second, the tired airport, the noisy passenger, and every unpaid bill seemed to fall silent. The man stood and moved into the aisle without hesitation. "You must be Olivia." She stopped with one hand on the seat. She had never seen him before, yet he spoke her name as though the seat change had brought her exactly where he had been expecting her. Olivia looked down at the replacement boarding slip in her hand. Her name was printed across the top in block letters. "The mystery is less impressive than it seemed," the stranger said, indicating the paper with a faint smile. Relief loosened her shoulders. "For a second, I thought I had moved away from one strange man and sat beside a mind reader." "I am many things," he replied, stepping aside so she could reach 8A. "A mind reader is not one of them." Olivia slid into the window seat and tucked her backpack beneath her feet. The man waited until she had fastened her seat belt before sitting again. He did not crowd the shared armrest or ask why she had moved. After row 34, his silence felt like an upgrade more valuable than the extra legroom. The aircraft door closed, but the plane did not move. Freezing rain had begun coating the taxiways, and the captain announced a ground hold while crews de-iced the wings. The delay was expected to last almost 2 hours. Groans traveled through the cabin. Olivia rested her forehead against the cool window. So much for sleeping before work. Can someone cover your shift? The stranger asked. Technically, yes. Financially, no. He accepted the answer without offering pity or easy advice. Then I hope the weather becomes cooperative. A flight attendant approached with 2 bottles of sparkling water. She gave the man a respectful nod that was almost a bow. Your usual, sir. Thank you, he said. Olivia watched the attendant leave. Do you fly this route often? Not often enough to call it familiar. She knew what you drink. People around me tend to prepare more than necessary. It was an odd answer but not an unfriendly one. Olivia opened the paperback she had bought for $3 at a used bookstore. Its cover was bent, and several pages had been repaired with clear tape. The stranger glanced at the title. You may dislike the middle, but the final chapter earns it. You have read it? A long time ago. No spoilers. I would not take the ending from you. His voice carried no impatience. He seemed comfortable letting a conversation pause, which made Olivia more willing to continue it. She introduced herself properly. He gave only his first name. Lucien. No last name. Not yet. She laughed. That is either mysterious or suspicious. Perhaps I am waiting to learn which one you prefer. The cabin lights dimmed while de-icing trucks moved outside like yellow ghosts. Olivia told him she supervised restaurant events and saved the best tips toward a breakfast counter of her own. She expected the usual questions about profit, investors, or whether she understood how hard restaurants could be. Instead, Lucien asked what the first item on her menu would be. My mother's cinnamon French toast, she said. She made it whenever life was going badly and pretended breakfast could reset the whole day. Could it? Sometimes. Then it belongs on the menu. The simplicity of his answer surprised her. He treated the dream as a plan, not a fantasy. At last, the aircraft began to taxi. The captain warned that a storm system over the Pacific Northwest might force a longer southern route, and low visibility in Seattle could delay their arrival again. Nobody yet knew that a flight scheduled for less than 5 hours would keep its passengers together for nearly 12. As the engines gathered force, Olivia glanced at Lucien. He had no phone in his hand, no nervous ritual, and no visible reaction to the speed. You are not afraid of flying? She asked. His silver-gray eyes turned toward the darkness beyond her window. After enough years, he said, the sky becomes one of the quieter places left. The plane climbed above the weather, and Chicago disappeared beneath a solid field of cloud. For the first hour, Olivia tried to read. She reached the same paragraph 4 times before accepting that exhaustion had made the book useless. Lucien still had not opened a laptop or touched the entertainment screen. He sat with the patience of someone who did not measure time in gate numbers and arrival boards. Do you always travel this quietly? She asked. Silence usually tells me more than conversation. You sound like a philosophy professor. Is that a compliment? It depends on whether your students stay awake. A brief laugh escaped him. It changed his face, softening the distant formality Olivia had noticed when she first approached the row. Several seats ahead, a little girl stretched toward a reading light while her father slept beside her in noise-canceling headphones. Lucien leaned forward and pressed the button from the edge of his seat. The child looked back and smiled. Thank you, mister. He nodded and returned to his seat without drawing attention to himself. You are good with children, Olivia said. Children are honest about what they need. Adults often make honesty unnecessarily difficult. The beverage cart reached their row. Olivia accepted coffee and a small package of crackers. Lucien declined everything except water. You did not eat before boarding either, she said. I saw the empty tray when I sat down. I rarely eat while traveling. That much self-control feels supernatural. His gaze held hers for half a second too long. People use that word for many things they do not understand. Before she could ask what he meant, the plane jolted through a pocket of rough air. Olivia's paper cup tipped off the tray. Lucien caught it before the first drop reached her lap. She stared at his hand around the cup. He had moved so quickly that she had not seen his arm leave the armrest. Good reflexes, she said. Old reflexes. When he returned the coffee, their fingers touched. His skin was cool, not painfully cold, but cooler than anyone's hand should have been in the warm cabin. Olivia told herself the water bottle explained it. Even so, she began noticing details she had ignored before. Lucien never seemed to blink when the aircraft shook. He could hear flight attendants approaching before their shoes touched the aisle beside them. His posture never sagged, though everyone else looked more exhausted by the hour. He noticed things too. "Your hands hurt," he said. Olivia looked at the tiny healing cuts along her fingers. Dish racks, cardboard boxes, and a manager who thinks gloves are a luxury. You should not have to damage yourself to prove you work hard. Tell that to the rent. There was no judgment in his expression. Does the restaurant know you intend to leave? Not until the breakfast counter is real. I have almost enough saved for the permit and deposit. After that, I will need luck. Preparation often looks like luck to people who did not watch the work. The sentence settled somewhere deeper than she expected. Most people saw her uniform and assumed her life ended at the edge of a tray. Lucien had looked at her hands and seen evidence of a future she had not yet built. She reopened her book. A handwritten note on the title page identified it as a 1912 printing. Lucien studied the date. The author disliked that edition, he said. The publisher removed 3 pages without permission. Olivia frowned. That is strangely specific. It was discussed in his letters. You said that like he told you. For the first time, Lucien's answer came a fraction too late. Perhaps I have read the letters too often. She turned a few pages and found a bookseller's note confirming that material had been cut from the 1912 edition. When she looked up, Lucien was watching the clouds. 2 rows behind them, a broad-shouldered passenger in a dark coat briefly met Lucien's eyes. The man touched 2 fingers to his wrist, received the smallest nod in reply, and looked away. Olivia saw the exchange. Lucien had told her he was not a mind reader. He had not told her why people watched him, as if one silent instruction might change the entire flight. 4 hours after boarding, a call button chimed near row 11. An elderly woman had become lightheaded while standing, and her frightened husband was trying to explain her medication to a flight attendant. Olivia unfastened her seatbelt. I have basic first aid training from work. I am going to see if the crew needs another pair of hands. Lucien did not tell her to stay or ask her to let someone else handle it. Take your time. The flight attendant welcomed the help. Olivia knelt in the aisle, kept the woman seated, and spoke in a calm, ordinary voice while the crew contacted a medical professional on the ground. She did not diagnose anything. She helped the woman slow her breathing, brought her purse within reach, and listened while the attendant followed the doctor's instructions. My name is Olivia, she said. You do not have to solve everything at once. We are just going to handle the next minute. The woman's breathing gradually steadied. After water, rest, and a proper assessment from the crew, color returned to her face. I am embarrassed, the woman whispered. Please do not be. Half this plane is pretending not to be tired or scared. Her husband squeezed Olivia's hand. Thank you for staying. Anyone would have. Not everyone does. When Olivia returned to row 8, Lucien moved his coat so she could sit. Quiet admiration had replaced some of the distance in his expression. You never hesitated, he said. She looked frightened. You did not know whether you could fix the problem. My mother used to say that if you cannot fix everything, you can still make sure someone is not alone. Lucien looked toward the sleeping passengers. Your mother sounds wise. She was. She died 4 years ago. I am sorry. His reply contained none of the automatic sympathy Olivia often heard when people did not know what else to say. He understood the shape of an old absence. She could hear it. Who did you lose? She asked. He considered the question for a long moment. Nearly everyone who knew me before duty became my name. That sounds lonely. It was useful for a long time to pretend it was not. The admission changed the space between them. Lucien was still guarded, but he no longer seemed untouchable. Olivia told him how her mother had worked breakfast shifts for 20 years and kept recipes in a blue notebook stained with butter and coffee. Lucien listened without checking the time. Your restaurant is not only a business, he said. No. It is proof that all those mornings meant something. They already meant something. Olivia looked away before he could see how much the words affected her. The captain interrupted with an update. Dense fog had closed several runways in Seattle. Flight 271 would enter a holding pattern, but Portland had been approved as an alternate airport if conditions failed to improve. A collective groan moved through the cabin. There goes my shift, Olivia said. Call when we land, Lucien replied. Tell them the truth. You make honesty sound easy. It is rarely easy. It is simply less expensive than maintaining a lie. The broad-shouldered passenger from 2 rows back approached while Olivia was putting away her phone. He stopped at a respectful distance from Lucien. Sir, he said quietly, the Portland ground team is ready if the diversion is confirmed. Lucien's expression cooled into something formal. No special treatment that delays the other passengers. Understood. The man returned to his seat. Olivia waited until he was out of earshot. Ground team. People whose job is to worry before there is a reason. And the reason is you? Usually. The seatbelt sign illuminated. Outside, the first thin line of dawn appeared beneath the clouds. Lucien lowered the window shade by several inches, and Olivia saw something she had not seen all night. His hand trembled. Seattle remained hidden beneath fog, and the captain announced the diversion. The aircraft turned south toward Portland, where passengers would remain on board while the plane refueled and waited for a new departure slot. By the time the wheels touched down, Olivia and Lucien had been seated beside each other for more than 8 hours. The cabin lights brightened. People called employers, rearranged rides, and complained into phones. Olivia sent a message to her manager, accepted that she would lose the shift, and then calculated how many weekend tables it would take to replace the money. She hated the answer, but the decision was no longer hers. Lucien opened his leather notebook for the first time. It held no meeting agenda, only careful handwriting and a few old photographs tucked into the back cover. When the plane rolled over a seam in the pavement, one photograph slipped free and landed face up beside Olivia's shoe. She picked it up by the edges. The faded image showed a formal gathering outside a stone building. Men wore long coats and women wore high collars. A handwritten date in the corner read Vienna, 1898. Lucien stood at the center. Not an ancestor who resembled him. Not a face that might have belonged to the same family. It was Lucien with the same silver-gray eyes, the same line of his jaw, and the same calm distance in his expression. Olivia returned the photograph. Tell me that is a costume. He did not look away. It is not. Then tell me it is a reproduction. The photograph is original. The conversations around them seemed to recede. Olivia remembered the cold hand, the impossible reflex, the missing meals, and the flight attendant's whispered words. How old are you? Old enough that a number would sound like another attempt to avoid the truth. I asked for the truth. Before Lucien could answer, the broad-shouldered man returned. This time he no longer pretended to be an ordinary passenger. Your Majesty, the secure lounge is available, he said. We can move you off the aircraft before refueling. Several nearby passengers looked over. Lucien's voice stayed level. And Miss Brooks? She is not cleared to enter. Then I will remain here. Do not inconvenience her or anyone else. The man inclined his head. Yes, Your Majesty. He walked away. Olivia stared at Lucien. The crew called you the Vampire King. You heard them. I thought it was a joke. It was not. Her pulse quickened, but Lucien made no movement toward her. He kept both hands visible on his own side of the armrest and left the aisle open. King of what? She asked. A people human history reduced to warnings and legends. Vampire is the word you would recognize. She searched his face for amusement and found none. Are you saying you are not human? Yes. Olivia looked toward the aisle. She could ask a flight attendant for another seat. She could walk to the rear galley and stay there until departure. Lucien seemed to understand every option crossing her mind. If you want to move, he said, I will make certain a seat is available. No one will stop you, question you, or follow you. Can you make people obey you? Sometimes. I have not used that ability on you. Can you read my mind? No. Have you lied to me? I withheld the truth. I will not insult you by calling that the same as honesty. The answer angered her, but it also gave her something solid to judge. I need a minute, she said. Take every minute you need. Olivia stood and walked to the galley, where she asked for water and confirmed that an empty seat remained near the front. The attendant told her yes. The choice was real. When Olivia returned, she did not sit immediately. If I stay, no more riddles, she said. No deciding what I can handle. I ask and you answer. Lucien met her eyes. Agreed. She lowered herself into 8A and fastened her seat belt. For the first time that night, she was not beside him because an airline had changed her seat. She was there because she had chosen to remain. Dawn strengthened beyond the Portland runway. Even through the layered aircraft window, the pale gold light changed Lucien. The color drained from his already light skin, and the controlled steadiness in his hands required visible effort. Olivia reached for the shade, then stopped. Do you want it closed? Yes, please. She lowered it fully. The action was small, but Lucien received it as a kindness rather than an obligation. Sunlight does not destroy you, she said. No. It weakens my body and slows my healing. Direct exposure is worse. The old stories made the rule simpler because fear prefers simple rules. And food. I can eat, but ordinary meals do not sustain my kind. Our physicians provide a regulated substitute. No person is harmed. Olivia nodded slowly. That was going to be my next question. It should be. The plane began moving again. Seattle had reopened one runway, and Flight 271 had clearance for the final leg. As the aircraft climbed through the morning clouds, Olivia continued. Why were your people watching us? They were watching for threats to me, not studying you. My counsel insists on protection when I travel outside our territory. Your unexpected seat change triggered a security review because no unvetted passenger is usually placed beside me. Usually. Never, according to the current protocol. Then why did you allow it? Lucien looked toward the closed window shade. Because you had clearly asked to leave a situation that made you uncomfortable. Sending you back to it so I could preserve my privacy would have been an abuse of both. The answer eased one concern and created another. Your security officer called me Miss Brooks. How did he know my name? The airline manifest. I ordered my team not to contact you, search your private life, or interfere with your travel. After we land, that order remains in effect unless you request otherwise. And if your counsel disagrees? They advise me. They do not own your choices. Olivia studied him. The title should have made him feel larger and more dangerous. Instead, the clearest difference was how carefully he limited his own power. Why travel on a commercial flight at all? Because a king who only sees guarded rooms eventually mistakes protection for reality. I attend negotiations in Chicago once each year. I return quietly when I can. Quietly, she repeated, thinking of the security detail. His mouth curved. Relatively. She asked about his age. He told her he had been born more than 900 years earlier, though he avoided naming places that no longer existed. She asked whether he could enter homes without permission. He could. He simply did not. She asked whether he could control every human voice in the cabin. He said influence required intent, proximity, and effort, and it could be resisted. He had used none of it on the flight. How can I know that? She asked. You cannot prove it today. You can only judge whether my actions continue to match my words. It was the first answer that did not ask her to believe in magic. It asked her to watch his choices. Lucien then offered to move himself to the empty seat so she could finish the flight alone. Olivia looked at the closed shade, the old photograph, and the man who had answered every difficult question without touching her or asking for trust he had not earned. Stay, she said. But understand something. I am choosing one more hour, not signing up for your kingdom. 1 hour is all you have offered, Lucien replied. I will not claim more. The cabin broke through the cloud layer. A thin edge of filtered light slipped around the shade, tracing gold across the seat between them. They spoke more quietly after that. Olivia told him she was afraid her breakfast counter would fail. Lucien admitted he was returning to a council that valued tradition more than change. Neither tried to solve the other's life. When the captain announced their final descent, Olivia realized the long detour had carried them to almost exactly 12 hours since she first sat in 8A. Lucien straightened his coat. There will be people waiting. How many? He paused. That hesitation worried her more than the word vampire ever had. Flight 271 touched down in Seattle 11 hours and 58 minutes after Olivia had taken the window seat beside Lucien. The fog had lifted into a pale morning haze, and wet pavement reflected the service lights beneath the aircraft. Passengers applauded, complained, and hurried to collect their bags. Olivia stayed seated until the aisle cleared. Lucien did the same. There is never any point rushing, she said. Baggage claim will still disappoint everyone equally. A remarkably democratic institution. He replied. The familiar humor helped until they stepped onto the jet bridge. At the intersection leading toward the public terminal, a security door stood open to an airside reception hall. Beyond it waited two long lines of men and women in tailored black coats. A convoy of dark vehicles filled the private lane outside. Airport employees had stopped moving carts. Security officers watched from a respectful distance. Olivia was still free to continue toward the public corridor. No one blocked her path. But she stopped beside Lucien, stunned by the scale of what had been waiting behind his quiet seat. Every person in black lowered their head. "Welcome home, Your Majesty," they said together. Lucien did not change. That was what unsettled her most. The authority had been present all night, hidden beneath patience and a charcoal coat. A woman in a crimson suit approached. "Your Majesty, the council has assembled. They request an immediate report concerning the unscheduled proximity." Her eyes moved toward Olivia. A second official held a digital tablet. "The manifest confirms that Miss Brooks remained beside you for the entire journey. The council requests permission to interview her before she leaves." "No," Lucien said. The word was quiet, but the entire hall became still. "Your Majesty," the woman replied carefully. "Her identity may already be known to rival houses. Your decision to remain beside her through the diversion could be interpreted as personal interest." Olivia stepped forward before Lucien could answer. "If you are discussing me, you can speak to me." The woman turned fully toward her. "You are correct. I apologize. Am I in danger?" "Not because of anything you did," the official said. "But someone may assume you possess information or influence that you do not have." Olivia's stomach tightened. She looked at Lucien. "You said no one would interfere with my life. And no one under my authority will," he answered. "The possibility she described is not permission to control you. It is information you deserved before choosing how to leave." He offered 3 options. Olivia could walk through the public terminal alone. An airline employee could accompany her to baggage claim, or his security team could provide transportation with her permission and end all contact afterward. "No hidden fourth option?" she asked. "None. I want the public terminal. Alone. I do not want anyone following my car." Lucien turned to the officials. "Her decision stands." No one argued. Olivia adjusted the strap of her backpack. The exit was only a few yards away. Yet leaving felt harder than it should have. "I still do not know your full name," she said. Lucien extended his hand, then waited without moving closer. "Lucien Ashford." She chose to accept it. His hand was cool and steady. "It was nice meeting you, Mr. Ashford." "The pleasure was mine, Miss Brooks." The people in black stepped aside, clearing a direct path to the public terminal. Olivia walked between them without bowing and without being asked to. At the doors she looked back once. Lucien had not followed. He stood where she had left him, surrounded by a kingdom and watching her with the expression of a man who knew that respecting her departure might end the first honest connection he had felt in centuries. Olivia entered the terminal. The doors closed between them, and every person on both sides waited to see whether that was the end. Ordinary airport noise rushed back around Olivia. Children ran toward grandparents. Drivers held cardboard signs. Travelers argued with baggage agents about missing suitcases. After 12 hours beside a supernatural king, the normal frustration of arrivals felt almost comforting. She collected her bag and walked toward the pickup area. No black-coated security officer appeared behind her. No unfamiliar car followed her through the terminal. Lucien had kept his word. Outside, Olivia opened the rideshare app, then stared at the blank destination field. She could leave. She had asked for that choice and everyone had honored it. What unsettled her was not fear. It was the thought that she might spend years wondering whether the quiet man in 8B had been honest about wanting nothing she had not freely offered. Olivia canceled the ride request. She returned to the security doors and told an airport officer she wanted to speak with Lucien Ashford. The officer made a call but did not ask her to enter the private hall. Less than a minute later, Lucien appeared alone on the other side of the glass. He stopped several feet away. Did someone contact you? No. Did anyone follow you? No. I came back because I have questions, and because I decided I was not finished. The relief in his eyes was brief but unmistakable. Then I am listening. Olivia folded her arms. What do you want from me? Lucien did not hide behind a royal answer. Another conversation. The opportunity to know you when neither of us is trapped by a delayed flight. Nothing you do not choose. Your counsel thinks that makes me a target. My counsel thinks in probabilities. They are not entirely wrong, but I will not turn risk into a chain around you. I do not want money. I do not want a job, a royal title, or strangers fixing my problems behind my back. Understood. If we speak again, you do not investigate my friends, interfere with my restaurant, or put security outside my apartment without telling me. Agreed. If a specific threat appears, I will tell you what I know and offer choices. You will decide. No commands. Never. No disappearing into riddles whenever the truth is inconvenient. A trace of humor returned to his face. That condition may require practice, but I accept it. Olivia almost smiled. And I can change my mind at any time. Yes. Lucien removed a cream-colored card from his coat. It carried only his name and a telephone number embossed in silver. He held it out but did not place it in her hand. This number reaches me directly, he said. If you never use it, no one will contact you. You owe me no explanation. Olivia took the card. You are very formal for someone who spent half the night discussing French toast. The French toast was a serious subject. She laughed and the tension finally eased. Behind the glass, the council remained at a distance. No one interrupted. Lucien had chosen not to use his authority to pull her closer. Olivia had chosen to return anyway. I am not promising another conversation, she said. I know. I am promising to think about it. That is more than I had the right to expect. Olivia walked back toward the pickup area. This time she did not look over her shoulder. She did not need to test whether he would respect the boundary. During the ride home, she placed the card inside the blue recipe notebook she carried for her future breakfast counter. For the next 3 weeks it stayed there untouched. Lucien sent no message. No flowers arrived. No mysterious investor called. No royal car waited outside her work. By doing nothing, he gave her the first proof that his promises might be stronger than his power. 3 weeks later, Olivia closed the restaurant after another double shift. The dining room was dark, the chairs were upside down on the tables, and rain tapped softly against the front windows. She sat alone in a booth with her mother's blue recipe notebook open in front of her. Lucien's card rested between the cinnamon French toast recipe and a page of permit costs. Olivia had spent 21 days testing her own decision. She had replayed the coldness of his hand, the photograph from 1898, and the sight of 100 people bowing. She had also remembered the little girl's reading light, the way he had listened when she spoke about her mother, and the empty aisle he had left open when he told her she could walk away. At 11:47 she called. Lucien answered before the second ring. Olivia. Do kings ever eat breakfast? A pause, then warmth entered his voice. Under the right circumstances. There is a 24-hour diner on 5th that serves terrible coffee and excellent pie. Tomorrow. For in the morning. No entourage. I will be there. That was not an order. No, he said. It was an answer. Lucien arrived alone in the same charcoal coat, carrying no gift and making no attempt to transform the diner into a royal meeting place. He asked before taking the seat across from her. They stayed until the sky began to lighten. He told her what eternity could and could not promise. His body aged almost imperceptibly, daylight weakened him, and duty could call him away without warning. He admitted that his world contained rivalries and traditions she might never want near her life. He did not call their meeting fate. He did not claim that a mystical bond had chosen her for him. Then why me? Olivia asked. Because you asked a stranger for space when he ignored your boundary. Because you helped a frightened woman without needing credit. Because you saw a king and still demanded the truth from the man. That sounds like a very long way of saying you like me. Lucien smiled. I like you. She appreciated the simple sentence more than any declaration he could have made. I cannot promise forever, Olivia said. I do not even know what forever means to someone like you. I am not asking for it. I can promise another breakfast. Maybe dinner, if you can behave like a normal customer. That may be my greatest challenge in 9 centuries. Olivia reached across the table and placed her hand, palm up, between them. Lucien looked at it, then at her. Are you certain? He asked. About holding hands? Yes. About eternity, ask me after pie. Only then did he place his hand in hers. 6 months later, Olivia opened her breakfast counter with her own savings, a small business grant she had applied for before the flight, and the blue recipe notebook displayed behind the register. Lucien did not buy the building or command customers to come. He arrived before dawn on opening day, waited in line, paid full price, and ordered the cinnamon French toast. There were no black SUVs outside. No council members in the corner. No one bowed. When the rush ended, Olivia joined him at the last stool. Their relationship had grown through ordinary choices. Questions answered, boundaries kept, plans made one meeting at a time. His world was still strange, and her future was still her own. Neither truth canceled the other. Was the ending worth the journey? Lucien asked, nodding toward the old novel now resting near the register. Olivia looked around the small room she had built, then at the man she had freely invited into it. This is not the ending, she said. His smile carried none of a king's command. Good. She had changed seats to escape a conversation she never wanted. 12 hours later, she had found one she chose to continue.